Hello, my name is John. I'm a 32-year-old man who has been married to his wife for about 5 years now. We have a son together named Joey. He's just a few months old as my wife and I struggled for a few years after getting married before we were able to conceive. We are Christians and our marriage is meant to be built on truth, love, integrity, and the love of God. We are both Christians and have been since we were kids. We met in church. Our marriage has not always been easy, but we have tried to weather the storms. Before I found out about my wife's unfaithfulness, we had bliss in our home. We did everything together and our sex lives was just great. I feel like I did the best I could to make her happy in bed and never want to desire another man. Oh, I was wrong. I would come to find out that people are not always who they seem to be or claim to be. Thought life was perfect, then one lazy Saturday evening my wife and I are chatting when she drops her phone on the bed to go have her bath. She doesn't suspect that moment would change our lives forever. As she's bathing, a text comes up on her phone. Initially, I ignored it and just looked away because I don't like snitching or looking into other people's phones. But something made me turn around just in time and I saw at the top of her phone were notifications. Usually someone, probably a man, sent the words, "I can't wait to see you tonight. I've been hard all day." I could not believe what I had just read in my conservative wife's phone. What does this person mean by tonight? Has she been going out to see other people other than the people she told me she was going to see? I had so many questions. Why is this man sending her texts about his hardness? To God, I was praying he meant something else. Like he meant something else, like him falling through hard times and needing her guidance and wisdom. I was hoping it was just a guy who needed guidance and wisdom because life had become so hard for him that I needed someone to pray for him. That was what I hoped, and for that was what I thought about. I didn't want to think about any other thing apart from that. The thought of any other thing being true cut me deep like a knife, and I did my best to hide my sorrow. I made up my mind that I was going to pretend as much as possible so she didn't know I knew something was up or something was wrong. I heard the water get turned off and then I heard the footsteps walking down to the bedroom. As she came in, I put on the biggest smile I could muster and I told her now she was clean and moist and ready for me this night. She cut me the nastiest look I had ever seen from her and complained about why I used the word moist to describe her just having a shower routine. She acted like it made her feel dirty and sexually impure. I held my peace and skilled again at her. She started to get ready. I stared at her and wondered if I should ask about the message I saw on her phone or if I should just ask her where she was going to. I decided to ask her about the latter. "Where are you heading?" I said. "Oh," she answered, "I forgot to tell you I'll be going out this evening with my friends." "Your friends?" I said. "Yes," she said to me half-turned. "You never even implied throughout the day that you will be going out this evening with your friends. I thought we were supposed to spend the night together and just as we used to," I said. "I'm sorry, babe, it was last minute," she said. "Cynthia just got promoted at a place of work and she wonders about it this evening very late. She begged us not to be offended and asked us if we just could go get a few drinks to celebrate. I couldn't say no, as you know Cynthia is my very good childhood friend." I stared at her in bewilderment. I was left bamboozled. Even without me investigating further, it seemed as if all my nightmare about this woman that had occurred this night was so true. I couldn't believe it. I was tempted to call her friend Cynthia, who was also my own family friend, to confirm if truly she had a promotion and my wife had to be with her and all the other friends, or my wife had just turned into a pathological liar. My wife picked up a sexy red dress and then put on sexy red lipstick. She brushed her hair very well and sprayed on her most expensive perfume. I just kept staring at her as she was leaving. I made up my mind by tomorrow morning I was going to find a way to hack her phone and read everything she seems to be hiding from me. I started looking up the best phone hacker in town. I remembered I had an account on the dark web and went there. Within a few minutes, I had met somebody who was willing to hack her phone for me for a few $1,000s. Honestly, I had worked with this guy before. I used him to hack my ex-girlfriend's phone when I was also suspicious that she was cheating on me. What I saw confirmed my suspicion that she was unfaithful, and I left her. I gave my life to Christ after that and decided to marry a church lady, thinking she will be much more different and holy. It seems I was stupid. The next day I contact my guy, the hacker, and send him his check. It took him 3 days, but he finally got back to me with news. My worst nightmares were confirmed. He helped me hack her WhatsApp messages, and I saw my own wife send nudes and raunchy messages to this guy called Benny. Things I never thought my super religious and prayerful wife would have said. Things she got mad at me for saying to her. In one, she would talk about giving him a bit better than his girlfriend could ever. In the second one, she talked about licking his butt and eating any poo that came out of it. I felt disgusted. This was a woman I had kissed passionately and lovingly. I couldn't believe she had put in another man's butt and was so proud of being so dirty. I literally threw up after seeing what I saw. From the timelines of when she started being cagey and sneaky with me, I could calculate that my wife had been seeing Benny for 6 months now. They had gotten so close when he was transferred to her branch at the office. Apparently, he was quite the charming type, and my wife fell head over heels for him. He was funny and charismatic, everything I wasn't. I broke down in tears after what I saw. Nothing could have prepared me for this kind of pain. I decided that it will be best for me to keep it to myself instead of me confronting her about all I had seen. I felt that if I did tell her, I will not be able to craft a good plan to exit this relationship and have my son with me either fully or having full rights to visitations. This woman was crafty enough that I didn't know what she was capable of after finding this out about her. In order to save her name and make herself look like the victim, she would find any way to fight me and keep her son away from seeing me. I could take so many things, but the thought of losing my son totally was too much for me to bear. I decided to stay back for about a year or so to gather as much evidence as possible. It will be so difficult to bring up my evidence as hacked facts from her phone. That in itself is a crime she could sue me, and she will definitely win because the law itself is always on the woman's side and helps her play the victim perfectly. Life was going on smoothly until everything came busting open. A few days later, while we were, she begins to talk and asks me if everything is okay with me. I ask her why she would ask me. She said she noticed that I'd been quiet for a while now. She also noticed that I had not been my usual bubbly self for about a week now. I had not shown interest in the things she used to talk about like I used to and like a very good husband. I almost exploded why she said that, but I kept my calm. She said my actions are driving her crazy, and if I continue like this she's going to have to end up divorcing me on her own. She said I'd been avoiding her for a while, and she just kept complaining and complaining. I wondered what she meant by all those things she was saying. Was she trying to gaslight me like should always talk for years now? Usually, when she said all this to me, I would apologize and try to be the dutiful husband she wants. I just noticed that this woman never really cared about what I was going through. She never really asked me why I felt and looked gloomy to know if she needed to fix any issues I was going to. She looked at me and just kept on talking. She said that for a long time now, I had not met her needs as a wife. She spoke about how she was stressed with work and taking care of a newborn baby while I just went about being a man and being selfish. I could not take it anymore. I lashed out at her angrily. "How dare you?" I said. "How dare you accuse me of all those things when you are the one who is cheating on me?" She looked at me like she had seen a ghost. I bet she could not believe the things I just said. She tried to brush it off and double down on accusing me of being unavailable and not caring for her needs as a wife and mother, as if my accusations would go away. I told her to shut the heck up. that her attempts to gaslight me were over. I told her that the wool over my eyes was torn open and now, I can see her for who she truly was. It was at that moment she knew that she couldn't hide the truth from me anymore. She did not say anything though, she just stood there and was looking at me. I told her that I knew about Benny. I saw all their text messages, all the nude videos and photos Diet sent to him, and how she told him she would eat his butt when next they were alone. I told her I saw the message of him calling me a boring and prudish husband and how she laughed in agreements. She even lied to Benny that I had a tiny wiener to make Benny feel important. I don't have a tiny D and it is a bit on the average side, and yes, I sure know how to use it well. I told her she was horrible and terrible to have done this to me despite the fact that I told her about my ex who cheated. She had a grin on her face when I told her my ex cheated. Then she burst out laughing. I asked why she was laughing. She said, if I thought I was good in bed as I said I was, why have 2 women I have dated and married cheated on me consecutively? She laughed again. She said I over-exaggerated my capabilities in bed and I'm not that good. I almost hit her in her face but restrained myself, thank God. I called her a farm tool, a degenerate slut who would have been better on the streets selling Essex than giving it out freely to worthless men. She came close to me and slapped me. How dare you call me a slut? She said. You are a sexist pig, and said she was never satisfied with me. When I was on top, she always looked at the clock wondering when I was going to finish. She laughed again. She told me how back in college, she had better Essex. She had better Essex with both black and white guys with bigger D. I was so deflated and humiliated, I couldn't say anything after that. She went into our house and started to pack a few things for herself and the baby. Even though she could literally kick me out, for some reason, she chose to leave by herself. She took our kid and left me in that big empty house. I thought of ending my life, but the thought of my son made me snap back out of it. A week later, I got a letter in the mail which was divorce papers. Apparently, she had beat me to it. Her lawyers served me the divorce papers and I went on to contact her parents. Her mom picked up the call. I asked her if her daughter was over at their place and she answered that my wife had been with them ever since she left my house. She said I was a bad husband. According to her mom, I was the worst husband ever and she regrets letting her daughter marry me. She said I neglected my family and refused to come see them even though they had been missing for days now. What if they had gotten into the hands of the wrong people, kidnapped, raped, murdered, etc.? Is that how you would have just been chill and relaxed? I kept my cool till she finished her rants. I calmly said, ma'am, didn't your daughter tell you what she did that made her leave this house? What? She asked. I told her everything and that I discovered her daughter was not only seeing another man but bedding him. How she put my life and that of my kid in danger by engaging in deplorable sexual acts like eating his butt. When I was done, I expected her mother to take my side. From the other side of the phone, she screamed, so what if my daughter decided to step out a little because she was expecting a bit of a struggle in her home? It is your job as her husband to forgive her as Jesus Christ forgave us and forgives the church. I asked her why she would tell me that sort of a thing. She replied, if you were the one who cheated, we would have counseled our daughter never to leave her marriage. My mother-in-law said all this while fuming. I asked her why she didn't counsel her promiscuous child to return home and she replied, why would I? You verbally abuse her and make her feel small. That marriage is as good as dead. She hung up the phone before I could even respond. I just accepted my fate that my family had been torn apart. Now, we have been going on with the divorce proceedings for months now. As days turned into weeks, I caught up with an old friend and very close acquaintance. I told him about my wife cheating on me. He knew my wife well, in fact he was at our wedding and met my wife's parents. He said he knew my wife's mother years back. He had met people who were related to her and he had been briefed on the fact that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Apparently, my mother-in-law had been married to some guy way before my wife was born. She was caught cheating on him by the guy. She was sleeping with one of her ex-husband's close friends. She never apologized to her ex-husband, but he was smart enough to file for divorce. A few months later, these same relatives say they saw her heavily pregnant, and by the time she puts to bed, the baby looks just like her husband's friend whom she had slept with. The ex-husband had blonde hair and blue eyes just like. My friend told me that my mother-in-law then joins the church and becomes a born-again Christian. She meets a new guy and tells him the child belonged to her ex-husband rather than the true father, her ex-husband's best friend. Everyone in her family knows she cheated on her ex-husband and the baby girl who later becomes my wife Amy. Looks nothing like my mother-in-law ex-husband, but no one will dare utter a word because everyone is afraid to become confrontational with my mother-in-law because they snitched. As the divorce proceedings continue, my lawyer assured me that the law will be on my side, and since she chose to move out without any form of abuse from me whatsoever, I definitely stand a very good chance of sharing joint or full custody with her for my son. I was ecstatic at the news. My son was all that was important to me right now. I'm trying to move on now and heal my broken heart. I hear my wife started openly dating her lover the very week she broke up with me. If anyone asked her, she would shove it in their faces how she has finally been set free from that clutch called marriage. Now, it's been about 6 months ND. I heard she caught the guy cheating on her with some hot new girl from the office. I heard she dumped right there and there as her lover Benny told her he wasn't ready to raise another man's kids or be with a single mother. I guess I got the last laugh after all.